Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. I'm so excited to show you this card. I finally got to playing with my bundle that's in the mini catalog called the Right Triangle. As you can see, all of these stamps, photopolymer, that are triangles, and of course these are all right triangles, and it comes with the stitched rectangles die. The great thing about these dies is you have the right triangle, you've got your isosceles triangle, and then you've got a tall triangle there. Now, as you can see, these ones are missing because we're going to be using these four equilateral triangles on the cards we're making. So I just went crazy with these dies and just started playing around with them, and you're going to see what we did. Okay, so the first thing is, if we take a look here, you'll notice this beautiful plaid here, the Christmas plaid that comes from the Heartwarming Hugs designer series paper. And so what I did is I first started out cutting this paper into a 4 by 5.5. And then I just used my stitched rectangle dies, the largest one, and then I skipped one and went down to the next one. And so what I did is when you put this into your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, you'll just put them both at the same time and you'll run them through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Now you'll notice that it gives you a nice little border there, but there is one more layer that would go inside there. So whenever you run that through, you're going to end up with this coming out. And I'm going to pull out this card right here to show you what I did. So you start out, like I said, with your die cutting the frame. So you run this through the Big Shot, okay? Then you end up with a frame and this insert that comes out. So what I did here is I also die cut the same size rectangle in white so that I could inlay that white stitched rectangle inside the frame and use this designer series paper. And what I did is I used, here's the largest, the next largest, and then the third one down, fourth one, fifth one, smallest. Or we could just say we went from smallest and went up 4. So we're going to take these and I just put them in through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Say that 10 times really fast. And I just put them onto my designer series paper, so I'm not wasting anything. And I die cut all these triangles, just lining up my lines so that they weren't wonky like this, but that I had some, you know, had the lines going the way I wanted them to. So if you use the opposite side, though, you really don't have to worry about that as much because you've got a smaller pattern there. So I just ran it through, so this piece was not wasted. So you're using, you know, you get six sheets of 4 by 5.5 out of a 12 by 12, but now you're actually extending your paper by using this to do these triangles here. And as you can see, I just layered these ones. I picked the Mossy Meadow that's in that designer series paper, but also the other color is, I don't believe that it is Old Olive. It might be Old Olive, but I liked Old Olive with it. So, and you could also use Pear Pizzazz. I think actually Pear Pizzazz is the color. But what I did was use the Old Olive, and as you can see on this card, I just went and I also took some of my scraps and I cut out a bunch of Mossy Meadow triangles, and then I cut out some Old Olive triangles, and then I used my smallest rectangle die in the stitched rectangles dies, and I made the bottom of my trunk so that everything had stitching with it. So that's what you do. You just get a whole bunch of triangles made, and then you can just start creating. Now you'll notice something really cool on this card here, and that is this stamp set here. That Most Wonderful Time of the Year comes from a really cool stamp set that's called Festive Corners. So this takes you through Christmas and Halloween, Valentine's Day, or any type of just, you know, an affectionate card. But you've got all these really fun corner stamps here, and the spider web and the Halloween. So it's a really cool stamp set that'll go all throughout the year. And I decided to use the most wonderful time of the year. So you have a really cool image here, but the focal point is the stitched rectangles. But then actually I think the focal point is the image. So I think it's a win-win all the way around. So let's see what I decided to do with this card here. So to put these together, I turn them upside down, and then I just use some Scotch tape to just get these put together here. And you can just stick them, because you're going to put this flat against the front of your card, so you don't have to really worry about getting tape the whole way around. You just want it to be snug on there. So that's going to go. And the inside of the card, I also did the largest stitched rectangle to just carry that stitching onto the inside. So that'll go on the outside of your card. And these card bases are 11 by 4 1/4, and I scored at 5 1/2. And then that will be going onto the front of the card. And then I played around with some of the pieces that I had here. Like I said, here's a little piece for my trunk that's made with the smallest stitched rectangle. And then I had these little triangles. I just had like piles and piles of stuff, and I kept getting all super excited when I'd come up with another idea. And this one, I decided I was going to just use designer series paper on this one. This one, I layered my cardstock in DSP, but this one I thought I would just use the DSP. And then I thought, why not put a cute little sentiment at the bottom of this triangle? And where did this one come from? Oh, let me see here. And then Lucy and Archie keep coming over here and making noise and startling me here. Okay, so dropping stuff at my feet. Okay, so I decided to do that. And then I went ahead, and you could just leave it this way, but I had these ones and I thought, why not give it a little more something, something. And then I just layered on some Mossy Meadow on there just to give it some more style there. So let's pull these aside right here so that we can put together. And I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal, and I'm just going to actually put, this one is going to go onto my bottom one, and you'll notice I kept these lines going straight vertically, and then I'll just put my triangle layered on there. Then I'm going to put the one. Now this sentiment comes from Itty Bitty Christmas. Oh, remember this Itty Bitty Christmas? It's still around. It is perfect for Itty Bitty Christmas sayings. And that worked wonderfully. Now, if you use your grid paper, you can line up your triangle there and then line up another triangle. And then we're going to layer this little Mossy Meadow one on the last one. So let's turn him over. I'm going to get out, where is it? Here it is, my silicone craft mat, and get some, put that onto this one here. And I like the equilateral triangle, all sides equal, so there we go. And then we want to put some adhesive on the bottom edge here. And then let's just go ahead and line this up. There we go. And then that gives us just a little bit to look at there. Okay, so we've made our Christmas tree, and that would have been good to have on here. Now I'm going to turn this over and put some adhesive right along the edge of the bottom triangle. And I'm just going to get that right down in the middle. Since it's kind of thick, you don't want to show a whole bunch of the trunk because then it'll look a little bit Like, it would have been nice if this is a little thinner, but, and we're going to be putting that onto our card down here, but we're going to put the Festive Corners image right on there first. So let's set him aside, and I have it mounted on here, and I'm going to use my Mossy Meadow. So here we go. Going to ink up this corner. And make sure I get good coverage of that. And I noticed that I have a little bit of, and I'm not sure if my chamois is wet right now, so I'm just going to use a wipe I have sitting here. I've got that image ready to go. I'm just going to put that up in the corner, stamp, sand it on my tiptoes. Make sure we have that on there. Lift it up, and we've got the most wonderful time of the year. Oh, I saw a little hair there, and I was hoping it wasn't ink. Okay, so then I wanted to put my little Christmas tree made with those stitched triangle dies, and I'm going to put that right here, but I can go ahead and use these really cute little red stars here, and I'm going to stamp them in red. So I'm going to get out my Real Red ink pad, and I'm going to ink up these stars. As you can see, this is a very similar to this card, but just a little different. So I'm going to put some, I have no ink, stray ink, so let me see. Do you know what? Maybe we won't even put stars. Oh, I kind of like the stars on there. So let's just move this up a little bit so it's out of the way. Some red stars on the bottom there. And some red stars at the top here. There we go. Some stars and stars. And then we're going to close this ink pad before we get a problem there. So now we're just going to mount this on to the front of our Real Red card base. So here we go. Going to turn over, get some Stampin' Seal on the back. Oh, I caught the edge there. Okay. And now we're going to put that onto the front of our card. Now, oh, I fibbed when I told you guys that the size of this card base. It's actually, this is 4 1/8. Okay, the stitched, for it to have an equal border here that's not a little bit too wide here, because 4 1/4, I always cut them down to 4 1/8. So actually this is 11 scored at 5 1/2, but this isn't 4 1/4, it's 4 1/8. You can leave it 4 1/4. I'm sure many people do that, but I just like to bring it down so that I have the same 1/8 inch border all around. So I like this with this, and totally, you know, very similar. But I ended up, you know, adding a cardstock in here and then using that. And of course, these three were cut out of that middle portion that we die cut out of the middle. I was able to cut those, or I cut these, and I just mixed and matched my triangles. And then I just put the inside, but on this one, I'm probably going to do the same inside here. Now this one, I just had some more triangles left over, and I just used the middle and the top. So you can see I used this one and this one here, just made a smaller tree, because when I made the big tree inside, it just looked silly. So I just did the two. So we've got 2 cards made just by playing around with all the triangles we made. There we go. And I'm going to show you one other fun one I did too. Now this paper is really cool because the one side has these green polka dots, just, I mean, on this pattern, and unfortunately they're the same, they're backs, front and back, so it's, you know, you get that 2 12 by 12s in the pack, so, but they really coordinate perfectly. So this one I played around with, and I did, I got the little moose out for this one, but this one I wanted to use the polka dots. So I had, and some of these designer series paper triangles that I cut out were leftovers from pieces that I had cut off of another card that I had made. And I know the gnome card, I used these colors on my gnome. If you didn't see my gatefold, pop-out gatefold, surprise gatefold card with the gnome, I used, and I had a bunch of strips left over, so that's what I cut some of these out of. Okay, on this one, well, actually, that's where I cut these out. I cut these, I did the largest stitched rectangle, and then I cut these out of the green, of course, using every piece of my cardstock. But then once I cut them out of the green, I decided I wanted to use a contrasting color with the old olive. So how does this go? This is going on here. Yes. Okay. So what I did is I put down my Mossy Meadow. Okay. I'm just too excited to show you all these fun things you can do with this triangle. Actually, I know I'm getting to the bottom. I have been using this Stampin' Seal so that I get more proficient at it, and I know I'm just about ready to run out of it. It's lasted a long time, so we're going to put that border on there, and like I said, that so you get a nice equal border the whole way around. Cut down your width to 4 1/8 instead of 4 1/4. So I've got that Mossy Meadow there, and then I put this pretty red and green gingham on there. But I loved the polka dots, so I wanted to use them, and you're going to see how I did that. So we're going to put that covering up what we cut out. And on this one, I did it a little different. You'll notice on this card, these two cards, you can see stitching and stitching. This one we have stitching, but there's no stitch on the outside of here since I just cut out of the middle. Like if I would have cut this out and then cut my trees out, but I just did it a little bit differently. Okay, so once I did this, I was going to do the green, but it just seemed to be too much Mossy Meadow, and so I said I'd use that on something else, and then I just went and pulled out my old olive, and I made my tree. And then I said, oh, that's cute. But then I thought, oh wait, I wanted to use the polka dots. So what I did is I went and I cut these out. Okay, so then I went and I used the other side of the designer series paper, because remember, you've got these two sides, so I used the polka dots, and I did cut them so that they made sense the way I cut it. So there we go. So I'm going to layer those onto those triangles. So let's just do that. Okay. We're going to layer that onto that. So now you're bringing in all those colors, and you're getting two different patterns on there, the polka dots and the gingham. And I think that has a really neat effect. Of course, we have a stamp set that is in the Christmas catalog that makes trees, and it's really cute, and it coordinates with these triangles that are in the annual catalog. So you gotta love that whenever you have a die set that coordinates with more than one stamp set. So I think I will be picking that up. So here we go. And I want to put a little more adhesive underneath this triangle here. So let's get that adhered there. Okay, and now I've got Stampin' Seal gooeys. Okay, and then we have our triangles that we want to do, and we want to put them on the right way. So let's put some adhesive. Now, does that look straight? I think this one needs to be adjusted a little bit. Let's get that there. I kind of had the afternoon, well actually pretty much the whole day to myself. It was so nice. Nobody needed, no animals needed grandma really, except for my oldest son. He just got 2 pets. He got, oh, I have my polka dots going the wrong way. My oldest son, who is 33, just got 2 guinea pigs. So one of them's name is Mr. Guinea, and the other one's name is Mr. Pig. And so I did have, he's away with his girlfriend this weekend, so I got to be grandma to Grand Piggy guinea pigs. So those were the only ones that needed my attention this weekend. So I was so excited to come up here and just play, and I just had so much fun just cutting and playing around with these triangles, and of course with the trees, but there's so many other great things I plan on doing here. There we go. As you can see, I tried to put that one on the bottom of that one. So then we're going to put our, well, that's not a very good idea, Cindy. You're always pulling out your craft. I think it's when you're making a video, there's so many pieces that you need, and you're trying to keep the table clean for everybody to see. So here we go. This is where our tree is going to be sitting. And then I thought it kind of looked plain, so why not stick Mr. Moose on here? So that's exactly what I did. So I'm going to put the tree off to, now what do I want to do? Do I want to put I want to put him, yeah, so I think I'm going to pop him up with dimensionals. So I'm going to pop this tree up with dimensionals, and then we'll pop this tricky to get this dimensional right inside that trunk. And we're just going to dimensional this up here. And then I'm going to be putting, see, I got some adhesive on there. Okay, and I'm going to be putting this tree off a little to the side, and then popping the moose, because I want the moose to kind of be on the gingham, so his nose isn't over on there. So I'm going to put some adhesive on his behind, and then put a dimensional on his head. So then we'll know where we're gonna be here. So we're gonna put the moose like that. Okay, and then I think that'll gear where I'm going to put this. So we want to keep the moose on the gingham, pop him down, and then we're just gonna, well, that was kind of not the right way to do that. I'm gonna pull off the dimensionals. I'm sure you can tell what I'm doing here. That was kind of not the right way to do it, but you get where I'm going from. I think you're picking up what I'm putting down, right? Okay. So we're gonna slide that there, and my tree, we're gonna put, do we wanna put the tree? Let me see. I think that looks good. There we go. Tree and a moose, but we're missing a sentiment. And guess what? I pulled this sentiment that I'm gonna pop right underneath the tree there, and it's also using that smallest stitched rectangle, and I pulled that out of another great holiday one. This is the banner one, and I was going to use the new banner punch that punch out all these great sentiments, except for I wanted the stitching on here, so I just put this Be Merry on here, and I thought it looked really, the font was nice and chunky, and I thought that that font was really lent itself well to this kind of rustic, fun, country style card. So let me put, I see a couple little fragments of cardstock, so we're just going to put that so that we can see the whole word, and we can see a little bit of the stitched, we can see a little of the mossy meadow there. So we've got another card, and then I'm just going to go ahead and put some corner seal in there and finish off. Oh, sorry, hit the camera there. I'm gonna put that on the inside of this card, because you know I'm going to want to take pictures, because you can go to my blog, Cindy Lee B Designs, and you'll see photos of these cards that I made. So I am going to be proactive and get all these cards done so that I can take some great photos for you. You can always go to the link to my blog, cindyleebdesigns.com, right after the YouTube description. You'll see visit my blog here. Just press that link and it takes you over to my blog where you'll see these pictures. You'll see the measurements over on my blog as well as on the description underneath the YouTube video. So there we go. We have 3 really fun cards using the Pretty Designer Series paper, Heartwarming Hugs, and using the triangles. Oh my gosh, can you imagine all the fun things you can do with those triangles? And I only just nipped just the tip of the iceberg on this one. And so you could also, oh, and I wanted to do on this one, I want to show you another fun corner. Another fun corner here is Christmas lights here. And the neat thing about this stamp is it can do 2 corners here. You could do a corner here and a corner here. So because this is a more detailed lined image, I'm going to use I have a little red piece of felt coming from here. I'm going to use one of my stamping spots. Now, if you get Paper Pumpkin, you are getting a collection of spots. This is an old spot, but if you don't get Paper Pumpkin, you can buy these blank spots, empty spots, uninked spots they're called, and you can ink them up with your refills. So I'm going to put some Christmas lights up in this corner. Just press down there. And then I think I'm going to put some down in this corner as well. But these are great because they're felt, and for really fine detailed images, they are great. And using with my Stamparatus as well. But I really like this one because it can work in both corners. And we're going to put that down. And since I just kind of went with red and green on this card, I didn't color in my little light bulbs yet because I'm trying to decide if I want to add in some colored light bulbs. But right now I'm just putting those on there so you've got something done on the inside of your card. Oh, I'm so excited about these triangles. I can't wait to play and do some other like really fun, you know, Art Deco trendy things. But for right now, we're just playing here with these great triangles, making some triangle trees. If you have any questions, you can always email me at cindyleeb@gmail.com. You can always give me a call or text me at 724-323-2296. If you have any more additional questions, just go over onto my blog. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.